thunder roaring, when the wings start soaring. And tonight we're gonna be a part of the action. Hear them start to cheer when the race time's near. And they're side by side, breathing fire around the third track. Sprint car racing, take it to the top. We'll take it to the top. Sprint car racing, the action never stops. The action never stops. Sprint car racing, take it to the top. We'll take it to the top. Sprint car racing.
Good evening and welcome to our coverage of round 5 of the Winfield Australian Sprint Car Series, coming to you from the Winfield Newcastle Motordrome. This year's series, to be held over 8 rounds, is at the halfway mark. So let's recap the driver championship point score. Current champ George Tatnell leads with 2,880 points from Max Dumsney on 1,840, with rookie Brooke Tatnell third on 1,650. Phil March has 1,500, Brad Hayward 1,010 and John Walsh 920. Qualifying time trials are underway as we cross to check on the fast men around the Motordrome.
Not quite as good as I thought the car could be. I made a bit of a blue out there and coming onto the main straight onto the last corner, and I believe I could have made a couple of tenths quicker if I just been a bit smoother. .009 seconds for the second slower than Dad, and he set the fastest, so it was pretty good.
Is there a bit of a competition between you and your father?
It's more so with me trying to beat him than with him trying to beat me.
Nearly a track record.
Yes, it wasn't too bad, John. It's we're a tenth off something, but we pushed up pretty bad in turn 3 and 4. But other than that, I think it would have been a record. It was a real good run.
We asked young Brooke Tatnell how important it was to set a good qualifying time.
It's very important. If you get a slow time, everyone says, oh, you can go out and dog the times and this, that and the other, but you can't because of the point system involved. The points are pretty evenly matched, but you still need a good time. You can come from the back in heat races to win and total up your points for a starting position in the feature up front.
With the time trials completed, we sought some predictions as to the likely outcome for the main race.
It's a really hard track. It goes very slick and bumpy. We feel very confident. I think that both the Winfield cars, Brooke and I, should run up at the front, with just a reasonable amount of luck. I don't think we'll have too much dramas with it, but it'll be a good hard race because the heats should provide a lot of, it's a very hard track to pass on, so it depends on who gets the brakes and whether we've got many desperate operators like we've had the last few weeks.
We came here to win, and that's what we're hoping for. A lot of good cars, a lot of competition. Jack Hewitt and Rush and all the boys are, it's going to be one hell of a race.
Following time trials, each car competes in 2 heat races to determine final starting positions for the main event. Our commentator at the track is Ian Campbell as we bring you highlights of the heat races.
Heat number 3 coming around with a star-studded field, including the 2 Americans, Jeff Gordon and Jack Hewitt. Gordon off the front row and takes the lead. Hewitt coming, charging from the back. Jeff Gordon, one of the great finds in the US of A, goes into turn number 3. Behind him is Brad Hayward. But have a look at Hewitt. He's coming up, doing a number on absolutely everybody, up into 4th position. Max Dumsney there trying to get his act together. He goes off the second turn. He seems to be a bit off the pace in this one. May not have the right setup. The track being very tricky tonight as Jeff Gordon comes flying back into turn number 1. Brad Hayward, the 47 car, running in 2nd place. And another charger in there. Phil Johnson, the 99 car from New South Wales. Race leader, the American Jeff Gordon, coming down past the judge for another lap as he goes into turn number 1. The race is far from over for these guys. And now here comes Hayward, a beautiful pass. He's got underneath the American on turn number 3, and the crowd are at their feet. Gordon won't let it go with that. He comes back underneath Hayward. Oh boy, is this going to be a battle right down to the line. We've got Hayward underneath him again. The Sutton's Motors car flies up into turn number 3 and clears out on the American. The order now, Hayward, Gordon running 2nd place in the Lander Toyota car, and the 2nd American, Jack Hewitt, coming up. If he gets up for this one, it'll be a perler, because Hewitt's done it from the back row. Running past the start-finish line again as Brad Hayward backs it in very deep in the first turn. Hewitt's got the thing all tidied up, running the Peter Jackson side on the top as he comes up to the third turn. Hewitt down low, gets underneath the inside of Hayward and drags him off into the first corner. Hayward goes wide, Dumsney almost collects him there. Hayward on the infield, but make no mistake about it, it's Jack the Jet Hewitt that's in front, the American from Troy, Ohio, in the 21 car. Hewitt back into turn number one. Around into the back straight away, and have a look at these cars spreading out over the field here at round number 5 of the Winfield Series as Hewitt comes past with 1 to go. And let me tell you, take your hat up to this guy. He's done it from the back of the pack and he's done it fine. Jack's back, you can believe that, as he comes to the third turn. And Jack Hewitt takes out heat number 3 here at Newcastle. In second place, Max Dumsney, and Brad Hayward relegated back to third place. Second last heat of the series here at the Winfield Newcastle Motordrome sees Trevor Shields coming off position number 1 and Jack Hewitt from the back. The American, can he do it times 2 the hard way as they go into turn number 1? It's Shields that runs away from it at the moment, but have a look at this. There's a great fight going on in the middle of the field, and one of them's Rod Bowen, the current compact champion. Shields past the judge for the first time. In second place, Wayne Bunker from South Australia in the Celtex entry. Bowen caught up high. Here comes Haywood on the low line. And have a look at Hewitt, already up into 5th spot. Race leader coming into the main straight away. It's car number 17. Trevor Shields, he goes by. Bunker having a look to see which way he may be able to get around him. And in the meantime, Hewitt's progressing further through the field. The battle's still going on between Haywood and Shields, and laps dwindling away. As they come into the main straight again, the leader is car number 17. But have a look at Bunker. Bunker has grabbed him, I think, on the bottom turn. There's a battle raging for first. And of course, Hewitt's putting the pressure on car number 47, which is Brad Hayward. Bunker now, he's got past Shields on the bottom turn, into the lead, the Celtex entry. Shields running second. In third place, Bowen, but Hewitt's going to make short work of him coming out of the second turn. Up into turn number 3, the order is now Wayne Bunker, Trevor Shields, and you can get that, it's now Wayne Bunker and Jack Hewitt. Bunker in the 27 car from South Australia, driving his pants off to try and keep the American at bay. Is Hewitt going to do it from the back again? That's the question. And there's only a couple of laps to go as the caution comes down. Caution on the racetrack, and there's the problem down there on the top turn. Race car scattered in all directions, including American Jeff Gordon in the Lander Toyota car number 3. Restart. Bunker to lead him away in the Celtex car in car number 27. Jack Hewitt from Troy, Ohio in the USA in car number 21. Behind them is Trevor Shields, but the battle's out in front at the moment. Have a look at this as the field settled down. It's Wayne Bunker from South Australia in the Celtex car going around the 3-4 turn, and he comes past with only a few laps remaining. Bunker around the second turn. Hewitt, the American, in the 21 car, getting the car all hooked up on the low line. He comes back again on the low line to try and get Bunker. Bunker tries to shut the gate here on the first turn. Hewitt comes back in again. He's got the drive. It's neck and neck down the back chute. They race into turn number 3, and it's Jack Hewitt that gets into the lead. The American done it from the back row. What a fantastic drive as he goes back into turn number 1. He's now the race leader by 3 car lengths, and he's extending this down the back chute. Jack Hewitt, wearing the Peter Jackson sign, comes around the 3-4 turn, comes into the main straight with 1 lap remaining. Hewitt runs into the mid-track, up into turn 3 for the final time, and the people are applauding the effort of this great American racer as he goes on by for the win. Second place, Wayne Bunker, and Trevor Shields coming through into third spot. The final heat tonight for round 5 of the Winfield Series at Newcastle. And on the front row to lead them around, Colin Farr and Bob Tunks in a field which includes Australia number 1, Gary Rush. At the rear of the field, Brooke Tatnell, who's high up on the leaderboard at the moment. First turn, Tunks has jumped away with it, but the surprise package come out of the second row, the 77 Winfield car from Western Australia of Ian Bradford. Tunks, the leader after the first lap. Bradford in second place in car 77. Gary Rush coming through the field very quickly there, and Brooke Tatnell looking to get some traction at the rear of the field. Tunk's still the leader. Bradford goes through there. Here comes Rush running on the low line there. And Dumsney also in the field, but having difficulty coming to grips with the slick track here at Newcastle. Another lap down. Bob Tunk showing him the way. Tunk's, of course, cut his teeth on slick tracks, winning the 68 Nationals at the Sydney Showgrounds, a track which was very similar in surface to what they're racing on tonight. Bradford putting all the pressure on, gets down low, tries to duck underneath him. And this young lad from Western Australia is doing a fine job in the Winfield car as he goes up into the third turn. Coming together there for both of them, but they're able to keep going in the right direction. Nipper Lacey now up into third place in the 16 car from Victoria as the leader goes down to the turn number 3. On your screen at the moment, Bob Tunk's car 54. Behind him, we have got car number 77, Ian Bradford, and there's Gary Rush. He's got by Lacey's up into third place, the Aussie champ. Tunk's now got plenty of pressure on him. Watch Rush as he goes on by. Bradford goes for the brave stuff on the high line. He's starting to get traction. Tunk's is going to have to do something marvellous here, but he can't. And have a look at Bradford. He takes over the lead. Ian Bradford now the race leader in the 7 car, the Winfield entry out the second turn. Rush has done the high line stuff around Tunk's, and he's now in second place. Bradford comes around now with 1 lap remaining, and the young Western Australia has done it in fine style. He comes off the second turn, half a lap to go, knowing that there's a roaring Chevrolet in the back of him, but he's not worried because there's the checkered flag. He's taken out the final heat here tonight at Newcastle. Gary Rush, the Aussie champion, second, and Bob Tunks, the initial race leader, third.
American sprint car star Danny Smith is in Australia for the main races of the Australian season. We spoke to him about sprint car racing in Australia.
Each year it drastically gets stiffer competition. They get better equipment, better motors. Everybody's got fresh tires, so I've been coming here 8 years in a row, and it's changed 200% in 8 years.
What do you put that down to?
Well, the guys are spending a lot of money to get some sponsors, and you know, we brought the first Gambler car over 8 years ago, and ran well, and it kind of took off. Everybody's got Gamblers, and it's just a matter of spending the money and having the good equipment.
The Australian company Oval Track Racing builds race cars. How do they compare with the American product?
Well, I say they're the same. I wouldn't say they're any better or any worse. They're the same. They build good race cars, and they run fast on the racetrack.
What's the difference between the Australian drivers and American drivers?
Well, I think the main difference is experience. We run 80 to 100 races a year, where they might run 35. So we get 3 years experience on them in one season. So I think that's the main difference. When we get to a track and it goes slick or it goes real sticky, we know what to do from previous experience, where sometimes a lot of the local boys that don't get to race a lot don't know what to do till after the race is over, so we kind of got a head start on them.
With all qualifying and heats completed, the points for starting positions have been finalised. American star Jack Hewitt is top with 151 points from Gary Rush on 138. George Tatnell has 134 and Brooke 120. John Walsh and Max Dumsney make up the top 6. Jack Hewitt has drawn the number 4 marble to invert the first 4-point scorers and put Brooke Tatnell on pole position. With the 2 Tatnells on the front row, it's beginning to look as if George has a mortgage on his 3rd Winfield Series. We asked Sydney's John Walsh if Tatnell was really better than everyone else.
He might think that, but I don't know. I think everyone thinks they're pretty good, but no, he goes pretty good.
In deplorable conditions, we see the final of round 5 of the Winfield Australian Sprint Car Series line up at the Newcastle International Motordrome, and it's the Tatnell Benevolent off the front row as we see Brooke Tatnell off position 1, series leader George Tatnell off 2. You can see the wind gusting down the circuit as the second row follow around. National champion Gary Rush outside of him, American Jack Hewitt. The third row, John Walsh and Max Dumsney off row number 4, Wayne Bunker and Ian Bradford there, followed by John Shaw, Bob Kelly, Rod Bowen's back there, also Danny Smith, Phil March, Paul Lindbergh, Sid Moore, and Bob Tunks at the rear of the field. They have got 25 laps up on the lap scorer. They're coming down, and there is the start of the event. They come around, Arthur Cowan lays the green on them, and 25 to go. And the wind's just picked at George Tatnell right up and dumped him into the 1-2 wall. George Tatnell, series leader, and by the look of the damage on that car, he is not going to take... And more drama! More drama Behind the action, we have got two cars in a great big heap sitting right on the turn there. Paul Lindbergh from Queensland upside down, and Rod Bowen from the compacts up into sprint cars, and it looks like those two will not be taking part in the restart. Phil March now in trouble in car number 3 from South Australia. What has happened here? March has restarted his car after those two cars collided on the turn, has gone barrelling down the straight. Now, whether these weather conditions had something to do with it, I cannot say, but March has gone into the wall. You can see the car is damaged beyond repair for the race restart. The weather conditions here have absolutely turned sour 10 minutes before this feature race tonight, and you can see the wind there lashing down the circuit. Absent from the lineup, George Tatnall, Phil March, Paul Lindbergh and Rod Bowen, all taken out from incidents on the previous two attempts to get this race running. Let me tell you at the moment, Brooke Tatnall looks the man of the moment down the front. Outside of him, Jack Hewitt from the USA, but sitting on the second row, national champion Gary Rush, and beside him, Max Dumsney. The incidents, of course, eliminating those guys has brought the field down to 13 in number. Arthur Cowan displaying the yellow there one more time around to get these guys up and running, and to see who's going to take out 1,000 big points in round 5 of the Winfield Series. Bunching up well on the back straight. Phil looking set for a start. Brooke Tatnall on the pole. American Jack Hewitt on the outside. Brooke Tatnall's run away from the field. I don't think they'll... Yes, they've given the start. Well, that's amazing in itself as Brooke Tatnall goes around the first turn and out of turn number 2. In the meantime, Jack Hewitt's regained the lead and really putting the pressure on. And have a look at this up into the third turn. All sorts of drama. Brooke Tatnall right across the infield, and he's back in the lead again. The stewards would be having their books out, one would imagine, as Gary Rush comes up, and he's putting pressure on Hewitt now. The track drying out rapidly. There's a gale blowing from one end of the circuit to the other as these guys try to get their act together. And there it is, the protest flag going on Brooke Tatnall. There'll be an interesting inquiry to that one, I'm sure, at the completion of the race. And trouble up on turn number 1. Drama the first caution down as Gary Rush Jr. has clouded the wall. And another drama unfolding. Jack Hewitt, seen there on the screen, is on the infield and out of contention, shaking his fist at Brooke Tatnall, not happy with the treatment that the youngster handed out to him one lap ago. On the restart, Brooke Tatnall jumps back into the lead. He goes around the 1-2 turn and have all the wind lift. We've got drama again. The 75 car, John Walsh, also Shaw and Bob Kelly meeting on the infield. Caution back on the speedway. Restarting again. Barker racing up to turn 3. Danny Smith are coming together with these two, and there's a problem on the track. Brooke Tatnall has spun the race leader. Have a look at Bunker. He's just had the outside rear tyre peeled off him, and once again caution down on the track. Brooke Tatnall sitting there. I think he'll be put out the event. Push car coming up to clear him from the circuit. Wayne Bunker beckoning. They've restarted Bunker on this one. But let me tell you, he's going absolutely nowhere. The outside rear tyre has gone. Most definitely. The picture tells the story as he rolls around, and all that's going to do is get him back to the pits a bit quicker. But let me tell you, Brooke Tatnall, who caused the last stoppage, has been allowed to restart and is back in the event. Gary Rush now in the lead. Max Dumsney into second place. The conditions, I must emphasise them, there is an absolute gale running from the 3-4 turn down to the 1-2 turn, and it is physically lifting these aerodynamic wings up as they go around this turn. Have a look at the cars, absolutely being pushed by this buffeting force, and we've had an electrical storm about 15 minutes before the start of this event. And of course the track curator would be absolutely pulling his hair out, as you can see the lightning in the background. Will the rain hold off is a $50 question as the Aussie champion, Gary Rush, in the lead, goes around the 3-4 turn. And you can just see the pace has even had to slacken up because of these conditions. Rush now. He's going to be running this carefully. Question, can the tyres hang out? The track is absolutely slick as they come around the 3-4 turn. Race leader, Gary Rush. Dubsy's up there also. Danny Smith's trying to get stronger in contention. Bob Kelly still circulating there in the Winfield 02 car. Only 8 cars left in this event, and there's just under 20 laps to run. Drama again. The fourth turn, sure again. Spins and calls it a day. That's enough. The fatigue on these drivers, the concentration they're going to need as Rush comes up behind the 95 car of Sid Moore. Rush gets up in the loose stuff. One thing it may create is a bit of a cooling down situation for his tyres. And as I say, and as you can hear, they're absolutely screaming. Rush again into turn number 3. There'll be no prizes for fast time in this event. It'll be a prize for endurance. Arthur Cowan again displaying the flag. Dumsney is now looking for a way to carefully and meticulously bring Rush in. As you can see, there is one very narrow racing line in this race, and they're sticking to it like glue. Dumsney getting a bit brave, gets up high, dives in, shows Rush a wheel. They come off the second turn. The race between these two very, very capable race car drivers, but we've got to wait and see if the mechanics are going to be the ones to let them down. Turn 1, 2 again. The gale's still blowing right up the centre of the track. Weather conditions absolutely deplorable here at Newcastle as Gary Rush goes into 3. Out of 4 and has opened up about a 5-car length lead on Max Dumsney. Next time Rush comes around, I hope to show you the stress that's on these outside rear tyres. They're nearly peeling off the rim, so you can imagine how hot they're getting. Will Rush's tyres hold up for him? Dust, and plenty of it, being blown right down the track. The spectators on the 3-4 turn aren't having a problem, but I guess the 1s and 2s have certainly got grit in the lippy. Rush passes again, calculating the race, driving it carefully, hardly seeing any movement out of his arms. It's a roll-on, roll-off throttle situation for him here, as we see one of the Western Australian Winfield entries trying to keep on the pace. Car with damage going past us now as we pick up Bob Kelly going around there. He's still circulating. He'd be dipping into his bag of experience as well. Kelly, of course, cut his teeth on the slick tracks and has won 9 Queensland championships. Gary Rush, an inside pass there. It looked like Sid Moore's car, and he's breaking away from Dumsney at this point of the race. Laps dwindling down, and Brooke Tatnall spins on the 4th turn. Still Rush. Slowly, slowly catch the monkey. The concentration. You can see it with this man. The flamboyant style all put away tonight. The pussyfooting deal. The preserve the car at all costs deal. That's what's going down here. He's racing against the mechanics of the car and the weather conditions, which at any moment could erupt into a downpour. 1 to go for Gary Rush. That persistency's paying off, and it looks like Dumsney's in trouble with a flat tyre on the front of his machine. There's Rush going into the 3-4 turn. He comes around and he takes the checkered flag and the win in round number 5 of the Winfield ASC Series in less than perfect conditions. In second place across the line, just hanging on, was Max Dumsney. American Danny Smith in 3rd, and all the way from Perth in 4th place, Ian Bradford in the Winfield car, followed by Bob Tunks and Bob Kelly. Rush coming around and certainly breathing a sigh of relief. And I dare say all that outside rear tyre is good for now is growing a flower pot in it. There's Rush with 2nd place getter Max Dumsney and Danny Smith.
We went out there to play to finish. We had a gale force wind blowing across the track, and it really made it difficult. I'd say that's what took George out in the first lap. The wind sort of just got a hold of his car and took him out, and along with a bunch of other guys. So it was just take it easy type track and finish where you can. It was not the best track at all because the wind was so strong.
Do you think the conditions are attributed to the high attrition rate?
Oh, for sure, yeah. The wind and the track surface slickening off so bad, it sort of just it made it near impossible. Like no one was prepared for that.
Well, the dominance of series leader George Tatnall has been reduced, and the point score for the championship looks set for an exciting conclusion. Tatnall Senior still holds the lead with 2,960 points, but Dumsney is just behind with 2,500. Brooke Tatnall has 1,810, with Phil March just behind him on 1,600. Brad Hayward and John Walsh make up the top 6. The weather conditions at the start of tonight's race certainly took its toll, making the track conditions very tricky for the drivers. Round 6 of the series will come to you from the Blue Vale Speedway at Gunnedah in northern New South Wales. Thank you for being with us, and we hope you'll join us again when next we bring you all the action from the Winfield Australian Sprint Car Series.
Sprint car racing, the action never stops.